being in a fashion sucks, bro. Well, not all the time, but I think there are a lot of times and things where I look back at the hobby that I have and I'm like, bro, what is going on right now? So in today's video, we're going to talk about some of the downsides of being in the fashion, or just kind of just the online fashion community as a whole. But it's not all bad, so don't think it's going to be, a whole bunch of bashing. But let's get straight into the video. Gang, what's good with y'all, man? It's Jadon Grundy back with another video, and I got some topics for us to talk about today, and they are the cons to being in the fashion. So we're going to crack it right off. But I do want to say that I know it's weird coming from somebody whose whole livelihood is basically being in the fashion, and I will say that there are a lot of good things that can come out of it as far as community and just relatability and self-expression. But I do think that there are some things that you should consider before you pick this up as a full-time thing. So I don't know, man, let's get right into it. Now, one of the first things on the list that I want to talk about that's probably one of the biggest and most relatable to all of us is going to be the financial burden, bro. Honestly, this is one of them hobbies that if you don't got money, it's going to be very difficult to at least express yourself or be able to obtain the things that you really want and are really interested in. And it's just one of those things where it's a weird game you got to play, you got to make sacrifices, and I think that it's a very difficult one to do, especially if it's just your hobby and you don't make any type of return from it. But luckily for us, there are different avenues and different ways that we can kind of buy, sell, obtain clothes and kind of recycle them as we go. So obviously, like I just said, if you're into fashion, you start spending a lot of money on clothes, but it's more so because you're finding your style and you're trying to find things that relate to you. So you're either going to be in a beginning cycle where you don't have a lot of money, but you kind of need to buy a lot of things, so the money starts to add up, or you're one of those people who have progressed kind of like myself to where you don't feel like you need to buy everything, but the things that you do want to buy are very, very pricey. So it can go from like beginning stages of buying multiple $50 t-shirts, jackets, whatever it is, and then you start to slowly get into things like Rick Owens, Balenciaga, whatever your other favorite brands are, and now you spending like $1,000 on a pair of shoes. So it can get very crazy with the pressure of wanting to buy new things. I think it starts to become like a addiction at some point, because it's so much dopamine and so much feeling when you buy the piece that you've always longed after, and you kind of want to keep having that feeling, so to speak. So I don't know, man, a crazy experience. But we're gonna move into the next one. Now, the next one is more so in the fashion community space, and it's going to be negative comments or opinions in general. Now, I usually see this in a online space. Like I said, obviously in fashion, we start to pick up traction the more we post things and the more different we are, and that comes with a lot of hate as well. Like, you can very quickly be bullied into thinking that whatever you're wearing isn't cool, it's not practical, it doesn't make any sense, why would you buy that, it doesn't look like, you know what I'm saying, just a bunch of stuff like that. And I would say that the fashion community is one of the most unwelcoming communities, especially when you are trying to express yourself. And I think we hold so much pride in what we make because it's art at the end of the day. So our outfits kind of speak to our own personal experiences and how we want to reflect that to the rest of the world. So when somebody else says they don't like something, it can feel very, very personal. So I don't know, man, it's just one of those communities to where I've been in many other communities. I played sports for most of my life. I skateboarded growing up, and both of these communities seemed a lot more welcoming than the fashion space. Now, the third downside that I have on this list is going to be online shopping and brands, and I kind of got to explain it a little bit for it to make sense. So what I mean by that is, online shopping seems to be one of the only options most of us have when it comes to buying clothes that we're actually interested in. Now, with that being said, I know that you can walk into a store or a mall to buy clothes, but I found that when I was living in a smaller city, it was very hard to get these cooler options that I would either see as a reference on the internet or that I would just see other people have that I just couldn't find in the mall. You know what I'm saying? Naturally, you can only find these pieces online, and we all know the risks of online shopping, and it's gotten better over the years, but I just find it kind of difficult to know the quality and the materials that you're buying when it's online. Now, personally, I think that it is worth going to maybe a bigger city or traveling just slightly outside of your small city to be able to experience certain things in real life. That way you kind of can get more information and have a better idea of what you're buying. Like for me, I personally didn't actually feel designer fabrics until like 5 years ago when I very first went to like New York or Chicago or something like that. Like that was the first time I actually was like, wow, now I understand why they're charging $1,000 for this hoodie, because it feels like the thickest material I've ever felt in my life. To transition, I kind of want to talk about brands, because I think as smaller emerging brands start to come along with this internet age, I think it's very hard to compete with the fast access or the different type of return policies and things like that when it comes to just fulfilling customers. Like me personally, I know how it is to run a smaller brand because of the one that I have. So I think we just have to find different ways to really explain to the customer and put on the website about how things fit, how they look, comparison on others, material types, just things like that is a process of trying to translate to the customer what they're buying. Because people are so used to these big fast fashion brands, they'll start to expect different things like, oh, well, this should be a lot cheaper because I don't know, Forever 21 sells this t-shirt for $20. Why am I buying yours for $50? Or it's, I bought this off Amazon and they shipped it to me in 2 days. Why does it take you a whole week to get something? You know what I'm saying? Just certain things like that is just a big negative battle sometimes when it comes to fashion. Now, next up on the list, we got false influencers. And I say this because there are a lot of influencers that really live this lifestyle. They really do this for a genuine reason. But in disguise, there are a lot of influencers out there that kind of just do this for the money. They're not genuinely interested, and they sort of push a lot of things that aren't realistic. For example, the culture of just buying new clothes. And hear me out, I know coming from me, it sounds kind of crazy because I do purchase a lot of clothes, but to be fair, before I ever got on the internet, I was trying to scrape money together to buy a bunch of clothes. I know it's kind of like pushing a consumerism type of thing, but I think that I have grown a lot in this space, and I have kind of put my money towards a bigger investment as opposed to when I was getting started. But there are a lot of people on here who just buy and buy and buy, and sometimes it's very expensive clothes. And if you are watching them as a fan or just somebody on the internet who's into fashion, you might see that and be like depressed because you can't afford 5 pair of Balenciaga shoes and put them all in one haul. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, certain things like that, when you don't know the story behind it or what that person did to get there, it kind of seems like they just jumped straight from point A to point B without even trying. So a lot of the stuff is not real. It's not realistic. A lot of people get things for free. A lot of people, like I said, work in the space of fashion, so it's kind of our duty to buy things, show them off to you so that you can get an idea of what you're going to buy. So you just kind of got to know what's behind everything that you're watching and not just see it from the surface level. Now, getting towards the end, we have this one that I put on here, and it is the pressure to conform. And the reason I put this one here is because it can be a lot of pressure to kind of keep up with things and change with the times and stay with the trends and all that, and it just can be a lot, bruh. Like, I don't know, I really like to preach for people to buy what they like, but I do like introducing trends in case there is something that you can pull inspiration from. But I will never say it in a way to where it's like you need to do it this way because the other way isn't good. Like, I think the pressure to do that is what can be a heavy weight for a lot of people to carry. Moving on is one that kind of is involved in every hobby that you have, especially if you really, really love it, like myself, but it's gonna be very time consuming, bruh. Like, when it comes to finding your style, finding pieces that you like, searching for clothes, sourcing clothes, making money to buy the clothes, it can be very, very, very time consuming. And that's one of the things that if you don't love it, it's gonna eat you up, bruh. I ain't gonna lie, it's gonna eat you up. But that is why you should pick certain avenues and be able to know how much time you can put into that thing. So me personally, I think fashion is great. I do it for the rest of my life. I was doing it before the internet, and since that was the case, I was like, how can I make a career, or how can I make a living off of this thing that I love so much? And I think that that is a great way to go about it, but not everybody is like that, and not everybody has the means to do so. So it can be very time consuming, bruh. So just keep that in mind and know your limits and stuff like that, I guess. Now, the last one that I got on the list kind of sums up a lot of the points that I was making earlier, especially when it comes to the online space, but I would say it's comparison culture. Like, I think it's very difficult to have your own style, let alone be able to purchase things and seeing other people purchase things that maybe you can't obtain yet. So I think it is one of those everlasting games of the chase, knowing where you're at or trying to gauge where you're at. I think it can be a very negative impact when it comes to something that we should see as an art, so to speak. But there's things that definitely play into this. There also can be motivators in a lot of this stuff. So you might see somebody that has what you don't have yet, and now it can motivate you to, at least, not if you can't get it yet, but at least know that it's obtainable. You know what I'm saying? So there, I know this kind of can seem like a very negative video, but I do think that there are a lot of positives in these things. Matter of fact, we're gonna run through a positive thing in each topic for the outro. So going back, financial burden, one positive thing that you can get out of the financial thing is you get to invest in something that genuinely brings you joy. I know it costs a lot, but it's kind of worth it if it's your medicine, so to speak, or keeps you sane. We all need these things to kind of keep us going and keep us happy through life. So if that is one of your things, then I think it's very worth it. Next, we got negative comments and opinions. I don't really know if there is something positive I can say out of this, but I do this for a living, bruh. So let me think of something real quick. You know what? If there wasn't negative comments, you wouldn't be doing something right, and you wouldn't be making a real impact. So if you start seeing negative comments, you know you're doing something, because if people wasn't saying nothing at all, then you wouldn't be relevant, I guess. So boom, you got a positive right there. I'm too cold with it, man. Now, next we got online shopping and brands, and one of the biggest positives for this is you get to see what else is out there. That is one of the biggest positives when it comes to online shopping, especially if you live in a smaller city, is you get to really branch out and see what things are for you instead of being confined in this small box and bubble that is a shopping mall or something like that. Next up, we got false influencers. When it comes to false influencers, honestly, it just should make you happy that there are real influencers out there, and if you can find them, that's who you should be following and attaching to, as opposed to what's not real. And also, if you know that they're false, then you're able to dissect it and see it for what it is. So I don't know, it's kind of like red pill, blue pill, I think. Now next we got the pressure to conform, and I don't know if there is one for this, but you kind of could be motivated in a sense to where if everybody's doing one thing, then you can actually do the opposite thing and get a even stronger pull on who relates to you. So I know we can kind of see it as we don't fit in, but a lot of times you aren't the only one that doesn't fit in, and there's somebody else searching for a way to step away from that conformed crowd. So that could be a positive. When it comes to time consuming, man, time is going to pass either way. So at least if you're doing something that you really love to do, then it makes it totally worth it and time well spent on this earth. So yeah, that's all I got on that one. And then comparison culture, I kind of already explained that sometimes comparison isn't totally bad. I think it opens our eyes to things that are possible and things we might want to reach for ourselves as far as a goal or what's attainable. So boom. So that's pretty much all I got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna start doing more of these little talks with y'all, man. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you did. Comment down below any opinions you have on this video or of the topics itself That was very hard to say. Topics. It's yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and head out of this one, man. So appreciate y'all for watching. I'll be back to you with more. Peace.